Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I had a couple people ask a question, and I know some of you guys are going to go, Jason, you've covered this before. Yes, I have, but the thing is, when I have multiple people who ask a question, when I make a statement in a video, those people clearly haven't seen it, which means there are hundreds more who are watching today who haven't seen this information, and so I need to cover it again, and I'm going to get my places in and discuss these. But I made a statement about 20 to 30 pounds of muscle is a lifetime gain for someone who's drug-free, being pretty much the limit. And that always rubs people's fur the wrong way when you say something like that. And it really shouldn't, and I'm going to break it down for you guys. And when I make that statement, I want to be very, very clear. That's under normal circumstances. Meaning, if you start for someone who is fully grown, starting from an average body weight, or someone who's even overweight, that's who I'm talking about with that limit. And let me explain what I mean. If you are underweight for whatever reason, you are starting with less muscle mass than you're supposed to have. So I'm talking about people who start with a healthy amount of muscle. And I'll give you guys some examples here so that you understand what I mean by underweight. How many people out there have gotten a disease that made them lose weight? A lot of people. How many male anorexics do we see out there today? A lot. There's been at least several on YouTube. Even Ian McCarthy had been a very underweight, 120-pound anorexic before he got into lifting. All right, it's just getting fairly common today. There's a lot of male anorexics. They have obviously lost muscle mass from what they are supposed to have, even from being sedentary. All right, what about just really underweight people who've lost appetite due to just not having a big appetite? I mean, if you're 20 pounds underweight and you think you eat a lot, you're fooling yourself. You actually don't eat a lot. There's no way. You wouldn't be 20 pounds underweight. Well, you're going to have less muscle. In today's world, let's just be honest. Let's cut through the bullshit. How many people do drugs? A lot of people. A lot of street drugs will make you lose weight. And if you're losing weight from them, it means you're losing muscle mass from them. Cocaine, heroin, meth, all those things. Anyone who does that stuff, you guys know meth heads, you know tweakers, look how skinny a lot of them get. Crackheads, a lot of crackheads out there, they're all skinny. They've lost muscle mass and fat. A lot of common drugs that people use for prescriptions for their ADHD or to help them study, Ritalin, Adderall, all that stuff, all of those drugs can make people lose weight. Well, if you're losing weight and you're not lifting weights, do you think it's all fat you're losing? No, of course not. It's muscle. You're losing a lot of muscle. A lot of these people have lost 10, maybe even 15 pounds of muscle mass from what they would have had they just been sedentary without even lifting. Well, they've got to regain that lost muscle. And that lost muscle they're regaining to be at a normal weight, whether it's 10 pounds or 20 pounds, to be at a normal weight, we're not talking about that muscle being part of these muscle gains, because that's just to be normal and average. Right? So we're talking about people who are starting from an average place, who are at a healthy, normal body weight because they haven't either been starved, been sick, used drugs, or anything else. So I'm not making it as a universal statement, and I hope people don't take it that way. If they're taking it that way, I apologize, because that is certainly not my intention. And I want to make that very, very clear. Also, a lot of people don't factor in the fact that their growing isn't done yet. Men generally do not finish growing and developing until you're 20 or 25. Most of you guys out there from age 17 or so till you're done growing are probably going to put on about 15 pounds or so. It can vary. I'm just throwing that figure out there. It could be 10, it could be 20, but maybe 15 pounds of actual lean tissue on your body. That's not even all muscle mass. Yes, some of it's muscle, because you gained a lot of muscle from the time you were a baby, right, without lifting weights. Whole lot of it. You have more muscle mass than a baby when you're 16 years old. It's because your bone structure got bigger. Well, that muscle has to fill out across the frame. It's going to grow. The muscle doesn't shrink and get stretched out and not do anything when you get taller, right? Arms and legs get longer. Biceps, triceps, quads, all of that have to get longer and fuller to accommodate it. You're going to gain muscle weight. The bones themselves growing, most guys are going to gain another inch or two of height. That's bone has weight. Bone is actually fairly heavy. You'd be surprised how heavy bone is. Your organs aren't done growing. And I know some guys are going to be like, well, my penis grew too. Yeah, but that's not going to contribute a full pound. I mean, some of us would wish it did, but it doesn't. It's a few grams. But yeah, even that's not done growing completely until you're about 20 or 21. So guys who are starting lifting who, are 16, 17, obviously are going to make more gains, but it's not from just the weightlifting. It's that their body was going to grow and get bigger and gain lean weight anyways, because their organs, bones, muscles, everything were going to grow anyways. So we're not factoring that in. And particularly the guys who are like, they were underweight when they were 16 or 17, they were skinny already from under eating or whatever, and then they start lifting. Well, they're going to gain a hell of a lot more than 20 or 30 pounds of lean tissue. They're going to gain a huge amount more because they've got both of those factors. So those are always going to be the guys who jump up and say, "Nuh-uh, because I was 120 pounds and I was 16. You see where I'm going with that? Well, yeah, they're probably going to gain 60 pounds, not just 20 or 30. And that's reasonable because they had multiple factors there. So we're not talking about them. They're the exception. I'm talking about the guy who starts out 20, 22 years old, who's at a healthy weight when he starts lifting, is only going to gain 20 to 30 pounds of muscle over the course of his training career from lifting weights and hard work. And I'm going to point out to you guys, that's nothing to be ashamed of. And if you guys think 25 pounds of muscle isn't a lot of muscle, picture the average guy you know who's, say, 5'9", 160 pounds, doesn't really lift. Picture him, look at him. You all know that guy. You know someone like that. Envision and then look at 25 pounds of sirloin steak. 25 pounds raw. 25 of those 16-ounce sirloins. 25 of them spread across his body. Perspective. You tell me he wouldn't look like a completely different person and do an enormous transformation? Let's get real, guys. And the range, and people always say things, well, what about guys with great genetics, guys who are taller? They're accounted for. That's why I said 20 to 30 pounds. You realize the top end of that is 50% higher than the low end. That 30 pounds is the guys with either the big frame or the genetic elite. 30 pounds of muscle gain in a lifetime from a normal body weight is an enormous amount. Absolutely enormous. And that the average lifter will not hit that 30-pound number. But the sad part is that when you say that to people, they actually get upset. And that goes to show you guys, that's why I tell you stop comparing yourself to others, because everyone in this industry is on steroids. Most of the people you see as examples of amazing transformations are using anabolic drugs. And when you get caught up in other people's transformations instead of looking at, hey, what am I going to be capable of doing, you're always going to feel shorted because all your examples have used drugs to help. But for a person to come in, for a young man to come into the gym and to bust his ass for several years, day after day, week after month, year after year, to eat right, to make sure he gets good nutrition, gets good rest consistently, and year after year, consistent, solid training, no drugs to put on 25 pounds of solid muscle tissue, I think is admirable. I think that is pretty impressive. And the only reason anyone doesn't think it's impressive is because so many enormous numbers of people use steroids and claim that they did it drug-free. So many people are out there or on gear that when someone actually really does something well, natural, and puts in the work, it looks mediocre. But you can blame the drugs for that. You can blame the drugs for creating that perception of reality. And it's unfortunate that it's that way, but that's just the nature of the world that we live in today, because all the standards have been set by drugs. To people who are watching what's going on in the industry, they're never going to see your results as impressive without drugs. And unfortunately, many guys won't see their own results as impressive. And that's sad because they're not understanding that they're playing a different game. I mean, they're not even in the same ballpark. They're not playing the same game at all. It's a different world. And that is just the nature of it, unfortunately. That's the way things have gone because of the prevalence of the drug use. Whether good or bad, right or wrong, that's reality. But people shouldn't knock that. I mean, if you come in and you really want to make the best gains that you can make lifetime drug-free, 25 pounds is real solid. And I don't think you should be disappointed with that, because if you're setting a goal and saying, well, since I'm telling you, trust me, guys, you're not going to do better than that, and you should be happy with that, then you need to reassess things. If you can't be happy with your results from coming in and training with drug-free results, then you need to either reassess and come up with one of two things. Maybe you need to reassess what you consider important in your life, or you need to consider that if you know you can't be happy with your results, but you want to get big and you want to train, then you're probably going to have to go the drug route. And I'm not saying that you should, but I'm saying that that is your only option there, or your option is going to be happy with what you can get drug-free. I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it too, guys. You have to pick and choose these battles. Either you've got to have realistic drug-free goals and accept that I'm going to do the best that I can drug-free, and I'm going to be happy with my results if I give 100%, and when I get there, that I'm going to be happy with my work and my achievements because I know I did it drug-free. Or you're going to have to accept that or you're going to have to just say, well, I'm going to need drugs to reach a drug-enhanced goal. You can't set goals that can only be achieved on drugs, in other words, and then think that you're going to reach them and be happy without the drugs. Or you need to, again, reassess what's important to you, because I'm not telling you guys you should all go on drugs. I don't think most of you guys should go on drugs. Personal choice. People do these things for their own reasons, but you need to have realistic standards. And if you don't want to do drugs, and you know that you're not going to be happy with what I just told you that a person can achieve drug-free, you need to get a little dose of reality there and reassess what you really want out of life. Maybe this goal isn't that important to you. Maybe you need to go in and just train and have fun and lift weights for your health and to be in shape and not worry about these crazy goals, because you're setting yourself up. You're setting yourself up for failure and to be disappointed. And no one in this industry tells people that. That's why I hate this industry. They tell people, oh, no, if you just believe hard enough and try hard enough and maybe buy our products, you're going to get there. They sell them bullshit. And I'm just trying to give you guys reasonable expectations. You know what? If you prove me wrong, then prove me wrong. That's okay. You could be that genetic elite who gains 30. But if you're banking on it and gambling on it, that's like saying, I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket and prove you wrong when I win the lottery. Well, if you're not going to be happy unless you win the lottery, you might want to reassess what makes you happy, because you're not going to win the lottery statistically. Assess your goals realistically, guys. And if you can't accept drug-free goals as someone who's determined to be a drug-free lifter, then you need to lift just for your health, because I don't want to tell anyone they shouldn't lift. I think everyone should lift, but you need to reassess, and you need to just lift for your health and lose this silly idea of gains then, because you're going to be happier if you do. You're setting yourself up to be unhappy and unfulfilled in life. And fitness and training is supposed to be about improving your life, improving your quality of life, making you happier, making you a more complete person, a better person, not to set crazy goals that are unachievable and then spending years trying to reach them and then being disappointed and then caving in on what you really want, or caving in on your ethics. Because if a person comes in and they're ethically opposed to using drugs and they don't want to use them, if they set goals that are going to require them, they're going to have to use them. They're going to have to break their own ethics, or they're going to live their life in disappointment. And that's a bad situation to be in. Don't set yourself up to be in a life situation to where your only two options left are to be disappointed or to violate your own ethical code. Don't put yourself in that situation. You're going to be a lot happier if you don't, because then you're in a situation to where you're going to be unhappy with something either way. You're going to feel bad about yourself either way, and that's no way to live your life. At least in my opinion. But you know what, guys? That's all this is. This is my opinion on that. That's just my advice as an older guy who's made a lot of mistakes in my life, to just try to help some of you guys out. And at the end of the day, either you're going to take the advice or you're not. It is what it is. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.